welcome to my reaction video of Stranger Things Season 4, Episode 7 of the first part 1 of 2. Let's get to it. Are they trying to block the exit? Well, Steve's not dead yet. The other three, as I presumed would happen, dived down after Steve got through the rift or the gate and into the Upside Down, kicked some butt with those bat things. And he's got some gnarly wounds, but he's alive. Although they're now in a toxic environment. And the wounds on Steve, is there... Robin brought up rabies. Yeah. I mean, maybe there's something infectious. There could be something more with Steve. For now, he seems okay, just wounded. We'll have to see where that goes. But they cannot get out the way they came in because there are way too many bad things, and they're all coming at them. So they are gonna head for the hills. Well, the forest.
For us.
I feel like the differences they're having is that one guy is focused on the outside and what's happening, what they need to do, while Brenner is focused on the inside and what they need to do. Both are important. The military are torturing that one guy again, the government agent working with Brenner and Owens, or just Owens, the government guys. As the show has been preaching, torture works, and he has decided to give up 11 as long as they promise not to kill her. Yeah, I'm sure military guy is going to be real trustworthy. Daddy-daughter time. They've now made it creepy. I said this before, and I'll say it again. When it was just her, it didn't seem so strange that he would view her as a daughter. They spent a lot of time together. She was raised in the lab. He spent a lot of his time with her throughout their lives. So the papa and daughter thing, not so strange. But now that we know there are dozens of kids and they all call him Hava, it's creepy. Ugh. Owens is complaining a lot. He's being pretty whiny. He's just not happy with anything. We're not getting results fast enough. It's not working, or you're going too far. He wants to have it both ways, where it's like, push her, but don't push her too far. And yet, we need results yesterday. You can't have it both ways. Brenner's just Brenner. They're not really getting anywhere with 11 right now. She's staring at a Coke can again, unable to crush it. Then after Owens and Brenner talk, he's in 11's room with her and tells her she's too afraid to remember and it's not going to work if she keeps, essentially in her mind, running away from finding out what actually happened that day. Convenient amnesia, traumatic experience. Convenience. I hate this storyline. I'm getting over it in 3, 2, 1. Come on, Chief. Come on, Chief. Yeah. Come on, take command. We have a scene with the children. The police caught the 3 kids, the 3 younger ones, Max, Lucas, and Dustin, at the lake and brought them home. And we get a funny scene with all the parents, the stern-faced parents, the kids terrible at line, they don't have their stories straight, cops staring them down along with all the parents. And then you have Lucas's sister being like, that couch is on fire. She's hilarious. I doubt they're buying the story, but they also have no evidence. Otherwise, they don't really know what to do with the situation either.
Wait, watch out for the vines. It's all a hive mind.
Steve is going to have a serious infection. His wounds are disgusting. They look really bad. I just hope that's just normal disgusting bad and not upside down you're infected bad. Okay, if I'm wrong on this, please tell me. But as far as I have understood previous seasons, there was never a hive mind situation in the Upside Down. So the fact that there's a hive mind now makes me extremely irritated. I'm confused. It wasn't a thing before, but it is now. Nancy has a line where she's explaining that the whole area is a hive mind. If you step on the vines or a creature has contact with them, that somehow all goes back to this monster they're calling Vecna, which I don't really like the name Vecna, so I'll probably just say the Upside Down guy or thing or creature, as I have been so far. Freddy Krueger guy. If I'm wrong, please tell me and prove in previous seasons where that was a thing. Because as far as I understand, the Mind Flayer in the previous seasons kind of had control over certain things, but it was never a thing where if you're in the Upside Down, it just knew where you were. If this is only exclusive to this season and this Vecna, this creature, the new one, I want to know where they said that because I don't remember them saying that anywhere. And now I guess it's a thing. We're in episode 7 already. Only 2 episodes left. I might have missed something. But as of right now, I get really irritated because as far as I know, I have not missed anything. And it just doesn't make sense and is not consistent with previous seasons. The plan for the young adults stuck in the Upside Down is to go to Nancy's place, the version of her house in the Upside Down, because it's a parallel type situation in case you don't remember that about the Upside Down, and our dimension or the regular world. She's got guns there, they're gonna go get them. Although for me, I'm not really sure. I suppose having a gun might make you feel better, but considering they're up against these flying, rapid, moving creatures, these bat things, I don't know how useful a gun would be. I'd rather have a baseball bat or a crowbar or something, probably. Make them keep their distance. But that's just me. Is tonight the night, boys? Gentlemen? There is a long, boring scene in the Russian prison. Oh, by the way, it is the night, and that's exciting. They're gonna fight the Demogorgon. Although they're acting like they're gonna die, and I get that Demogorgons are tough and really dangerous, but from what we've seen in all the other seasons, they're quite manageable if you have multiple people and weapons, and there's only one. The only time we saw them slaughtering en masse soldiers was when there were numerous Demogorgons in the school in the first season. Otherwise, even a group of kids could fend off one Demogorgon. So I'm a little confused by how they're suddenly acting like this one is so dangerous. I suppose they're not sure what weapons they would get, so they could be concerned that they're gonna get crappy weapons. And then Hopper is talking about how because the Demogorgon is there, if he takes it out, it could somehow help 11, which makes no sense to me. They're acting like all of these upside down creatures and gates and things are all connected. That was not a thing. Please, if I am wrong, tell me and prove it, because I'm 99.9% certain. I'd have to go back and watch the 3 seasons, which I'm not going to do anytime soon. But I'm quite adept at accurately understanding the rules of a created universe. And then so with this show, it's our dimension and this other dimension that is nicknamed the Upside Down. So I feel confident saying that this hive mind mentality, this everything's connected, doesn't make any sense. So I'm so frustrated all the time. I really enjoy most of the show, but this Russian scene sucked for me. It was pointless and slow and could have been cut, or at least heavily cut down to just a few things between the guard Enzo and Hopper. Because we also had Hopper once again being self-pitying over something that they made up this season. Of course, the stuff I'm always complaining about, which I'm going to do my best to just move on from. But every now and then I will bring it up because it will affect the rating. So I want to make it clear when I explain the rating that irritation will always factor in. Because if something doesn't make sense, it doesn't follow its own rules, I'm going to have a problem with it. He's really not bad.
Yeah, hello, Shay.
I feel like that's everyone's expression to that guy. Joyce and Murray arrive at the prison, or rather, the initial gate to the road to the prison that's in the middle of nowhere. Murray is pretending to be Yuri. It is quite entertaining to watch him do it. Very funny. It's also great to see the annoying Yuri gagged. He can't talk right now, and his face is all obscured, and it is well deserved. This is where this actress is at her best. I don't know what that means, so I don't know. I can't really feel trepidation here. I'm just kind of like, okay. It is fascinating to watch Dr. Brenner and Eleven in the present working on getting those memories back. Because we have to remember, he's a terrible person. There's no doubt about it. He's terrible. He's only concerned, first and foremost, with his experiment. But part of him does care about Eleven's well-being, possibly because he just cares about progress, but still, that there are still moments and scenes we are watching where it's clear he does take care of her. She grew up in the lab. This was mostly what she knew until she got out. You already know I hate the changed past, but I like the present and them working with her. So it's a love-hate relationship, I guess, with this season. Something else new they're inventing that supposedly always existed in this season is this collar they can put on the psychic kids, which is like a dampener of some sort, and they either can't use their powers or it severely weakens the powers, at least, so they can't do anything serious. Or maybe it's not dampening powers and it's just used to... Is it electrocuting them, or is it like a dog collar where it sends shocks to them? All you need to know is these collars can cause them pain or something. The collar is used to try and make the head bully confess to hurting Eleven earlier in the Rainbow Room.
You need to. If I were you,
Why is everyone trying to push for them to get
I
back
would
together?
Get her back.
And what is with the earthquakes? Meanwhile, in the Upside Down, I feel like they're doing a pretty good atmosphere. Walking through the Upside Down version of the woods. Who knows what could be lurking. And Steve and Eddie are getting to know each other, or at least talking, which is nice to see. Which is nice to see since they don't really know each other, but they both know Dustin. Eddie explains because Steve hung back to thank him for coming in and saving him. Eddie tells him that the only reason why he jumped in is because he was too ashamed to stay behind after the girls immediately jumped in to come help him out. Which, okay, makes sense. I feel like if that was true, you'd wait a little bit longer. He jumped in pretty quick if that was the reasoning, but I can go with it. The only thing I'm a little irritated about is he seems ashamed that he keeps running away from danger. It's literally a human survival instinct. It's fight or flight, people. Well, and it's technically freeze as well. You know, the main saying is fight or flight. There's no shame in fleeing if it's going to keep you alive. And I can't think of an instance where so far staying would have helped anyone. Sure, I suppose staying in the boat when the other two jumped in, if they got over their heads, they could have been in trouble, but I think they would have been alright. I don't think there was really a situation where he could have done anything. All the other times it made sense to run. Because the first time with Chrissy, she was already dead. He probably thought, oh no, am I going to be next? What just happened? That makes sense to run. The second time, I think, was when the jock died in the lake. And there, of course, he ran. What was he going to do? The guy was already dead. And he ran because they're going to blame him, which is exactly what's happening. So I'm not really... I get what the show is trying to say with his character. Is he wishes he could be a hero like he can be when he's playing D&D. But it's not quite holding up with what we've seen. But it's fine. It's passable. It's just one of those things where you're like, meh. You're feeling guilty and you honestly don't have to. But it's very common for people to feel that way when oftentimes they don't need to. They just have. They think they should. And he really didn't do anything wrong. I just hope the show runners and writers realize that too. But as you heard in the clip, Eddie tells her Nancy Wheeler, jumped in right away. She didn't even hesitate. You should go get back with her, basically, is what he says. And I'm just rolled my eyes. Why is everyone in the show this season so obsessed with Steve and Nancy and them possibly having feelings for each other yet? Why? I don't understand. It's really weird to have everyone around them being like, get together. You could already tell the actors are pulling it off. They're often giving each other long looks or caring looks and taking care of each other or looking out for each other throughout the season. That would have told us everything. But instead, we have 3 or 4 characters being like, why aren't you together? You should be together. It's really heavy-handed. What would actually make it all worthwhile is if the writers are just trolling the audience, and in the end they don't get back together and they don't actually like each other anymore like that. The writers are just effing with the viewers. It'd be mean, but funny at the same time. Now I hope that's what's going on. I don't think it is. But that'd be great. I have no guesses who the creature is supposed to be. It seems a little too intelligent to just be some random guy. It doesn't seem like the Mind Flayer at all. I feel my biggest barrier to guessing who this new creature is that since rules of the Upside Down have been changing, again, unless I'm just an idiot and misunderstanding, although I really don't think I am, it's hard to guess when I don't understand what's happening. Everything's just confusing. This creature can get into minds, it connects with them, sends them terrifying images that haunt them, and then eventually kills them. And then it either sends the images and the memories in their minds because that's a way to weaken them, that's a way to get to them and get in their head, or he's just a jerk and does it for kicks, some sadist. That's what's strange. There's never been a creature that's sadistic because they're animals. The Mind Flayer had intelligence. I wouldn't say it was sadistic though. Everything it did was to, there was an end, a goal to everything it did. And I don't know what this thing is.
We know that wants to take over the world? The Mind Flayer. So if the Demogorgon was just his foot soldier, Vecna's his 5-star general.
Oh yeah, they're explaining to the audience, and I'm even more confused with their explanation. I don't understand it at all. Since when were the things in the Upside Down organized? Yes, the Mind Flayer could do plans, and Mind Flayer could get into the minds of creatures like the Demodogs or whatnot and make them do its bidding. But as far as I understood, that wasn't a hive mind thing. It was just a sort of influence. It could influence them or encourage them to, hey, you guys like eating humans? Well, go kill all the humans in this building. The animal type behavior with some level of higher intelligence. That is how I always understood the previous 3 seasons. But now calling it a 5-star general and it doesn't make sense. I'm suffering here. I don't like retcon. If this is an entirely new creature, right now the kids are saying Mind Flayer and they're usually right. When the show gives explanations, it usually means that's what's going on, so the audience doesn't get too confused. Except their explanation just confused me more than ever because it doesn't make sense from the previously established information we have from previous seasons. However, going with it, saying that this creature, this Vecna, as they call him, or it, or whatever the heck this weirdo looking thing is, with no nose, I guess I could go with that this is somehow a really advanced upside down creature. Still doesn't make any sense to me, but I can go with it. And it is somehow able to hive mind the things in its area. That I can go with. If this is an entirely new, or just new to the show and the audience, but obviously a thing that had been in the Upside Down all along. But I still think it's weird. It has these things plug into its back and then lifts it in the air, which somehow enables the creature to open a gate with its mind to our world, which doesn't make any sense because even the Mind Flayer couldn't do that. The gate had to be open already for them to have influence. I know. I'm sure it'll all get explained this episode since this is their stupid part 1 finale, which really is just episode 7. It's so obvious by how this episode's going that there's really not meant to be a part 1 and a part 2. They just had to do it. I'm convinced. It's not a problem. I just go with it and view it as one whole season. Well, we'll see. Let's see. Yeah, please put that on for all of us, for real.
All right, yes.
Something I forgot to mention that was previously seen that I'll bring up now is the Upside Down is having earthquakes. And I would just add that to my this must be a new creature Vecna thing along with a hive mind. Even though since Hopper knows about the hive mind, apparently this is a thing that always existed, which it did not. It is not all connected. That doesn't make any sense. That's stupid. Yeah, there's earthquakes going on, which I thought was weird. while Nancy and them are in there. Then they get to the house, they get to her room in that house, but it's somehow years earlier, so there's no guns, which is confusing all over again. How is there now time discrepancies in the Upside Down? Not a thing before, but it is now. Okay, if this is the new creature related, again, I can accept it then. But let's just be clear here. Time discrepancies did not exist before. Earthquakes going on, not a thing. These weird bat things I can accept as always existing. I'm not sure why the toxic air isn't bothering them. I thought they had to wear suits or be pretty bothered by that crap, like Will. But I don't know. So I can go with all of this if all of these things that I'm seeing with the Upside Down that don't match are the new creature, then I can go with it. I mean, I'm presuming this is the guy that was, what was his number? What, 1? And maybe he did the attack? I just don't trust him. Yep, don't trust creepy guard for a second. From the moment he first talked to her and wanted to talk about 1 and was talking about 1, I immediately, boom, you're 1, right? I don't know if that's just me or if it's supposed to be obvious. I watched it with someone else and they didn't have a clue, but that doesn't necessarily mean the majority of viewers wouldn't have a clue. So I suspect he's 1 and he did the attack. Since I will never believe 11 did it, it just doesn't make sense with her character. And the convenient amnesia just feels like a convenient, I say it a lot this episode, but it feels like a convenient tool to create all this new information that never existed in the previous 3 seasons by making her have amnesia. Although apparently she does remember the kids and the disaster that killed everybody, but she doesn't know who did it or if it was her. It's a mess. It's a mess of they're trying to rewrite things so that they can claim that something's going on through all the seasons. I guarantee it. It's clear as day in the way they're doing it. Not a lot happens with them. They just talk a bit. Is trying to turn her against Papa, Dr. Brenner. In season 1, for example, Will could manipulate the Christmas lights so that he could communicate with Joyce. And here they figure out a way to communicate with a light bright, which if you know what that is, really cool toy that existed in the past. Well, it exists now. It's probably not popular though. It used to be a thing that you would often find in a household. Light up board and you could put little colored pegs in and create all kinds of shapes and all that and it would light up and look pretty. And they use that as the light source. We get to see the upside down version of this, which I am fairly certain we've never gotten to see before, so it's cool to see here. There's sort of a glitter in the air. It just is sort of like a light but not light in the upside down side. And if they touch it, they can manipulate the light to light up or to even write words and communicate with them. And it's super cool because that is a thing that existed before. So it's neat to have them bring it back and use here. And they use it to communicate with Dustin and the others.
And she said right here on the couch.
I like how
Pretty much all
not
she
one
told us.
parent is watching
She stuck to
them.
her.
I suppose that's
I mean,
typical. They would send you
we'll
to your
find
room
your
and you could
daughter,
easily get
Mrs.
out the
Miller.
window if you really wanted to.
Don't worry.
I understand that parenting was more lax in the 70s and 80s. But this feels a little excessive. Parents would still generally know where you are, or at least want to know and ask where you are. And especially when something is going on like this, I'm not sure I believe it's this easy to just do what you want. And even just going with that, though, I don't understand why they're lying. Why are they keeping this secret? They think their friends could be in danger. Why wouldn't you tell the police and adults, hey, go to the lake. They could be in danger. There could be something wrong. Worst case, they find the opening to this other dimension and, oh, I don't know, get the government to come in and help. Why wouldn't you get help? This is my problem. I am enjoying it's funny to watch the adults bumble around, but I feel like the kids are being especially stupid and reckless this season. In previous seasons, it made sense when they didn't go to the parents because it was either the parents were just too busy to give a crap or it was something they couldn't prove or explain. But here, they don't have that excuse anymore. Everything tells them that this thing is way too dangerous to keep to themselves. Max almost died in episode 4, and they're still keeping it a secret. It just seems ludicrous at this point in this season. It's not really working anymore to have just the kids and young adults handle it.
Oh, little pig.
Ugh. This guy is cringe. I mean, he's the fun kind of cringe, so it's cool, but ugh. They did go out the window? Yeah. I had a window too I could get in and out of from either direction. Most children, I feel, had some way of getting in and out of the house if they really wanted to. I do feel bad for the parents, though. They care, and these kids are not telling them. I can understand having been a kid myself. Maybe they wouldn't, even if they should. Kids can be stupid. They make mistakes all the time. Adults do too. But kids are more prone to making mistakes that could get them hurt and killed and all that, since they're not fully developed. So I can allow it. It's fine. It really is for now. But all I'm saying, if somebody dies because they didn't tell an adult, I'm going to be ticked.
And everyone here is
Yeah, I don't
prisoner,
trust him.
not just
I don't
you.
care.
Brothers and
Why
sisters,
protect
but the
one
guards,
person?
too, the
Nah,
nurses.
I don't buy it. In her mind, we are at the day of the incident. He is so manipulative. It's so clear. He's convincing her to escape. He's taken her and shown her this tunnel that she can use, which potentially could be what she uses in season 1 to get out. I hate the retcon, but if it's the same thing, alright, fine. Nice connection. He is telling her they're prisoners, not just you. And then he completely manipulates her into removing this chip he has in his neck. Which, why would he have that in there? Maybe he's got powers and that chip in his neck keeps him from being able to use them. Maybe. The guard could die. But I think for sure. Oh, I mean, I don't think. Hopper's gonna be fine. Come on, stop being so dramatic. We know what it looks like. Let's go. I swear, this show is trolling with the long run times. There is no need. So many times. I am just, it's too long. Even with the creature, with the fight, it takes forever for them to open the door and have it start. There's no need. It doesn't add any tension since we know what's in there. And we know Hopper's not going to die. So then we have Murray pulls a gun on the head guard or head officer, tries to get him to stop the fights, get Hopper out of there. And they're basically like, can't. We turn off the security stuff, we're all gonna die. It's gonna kill us all. Okay, I'll throw you in then? They should just shoot him and go figure out the way to get the security down and the doors open on their own. Fight happens. Way more people die than I thought would, and they die rather quickly. It's either they're increasing the lethality of these creatures, or it's just a really pissed Demogorgon for being locked up here for as long as it has, which I could buy. I can imagine they wouldn't like that too much. This is like the kiss at the end of the movie, right? Of like a minute left before detonation or whatever catastrophe. There's no time. I know. It's a moment, but run! Yeah, we get it. You're happy. He's alive. You're here. Yay. But keep moving. Go. Hopper and Enzo are the two that survive. Shocking, right? Bet you never saw that coming. Through communicating with the lights earlier, with the light bright, and from the upside down side to our dimension side, there's more than one gate. Wherever there was an attack, there's a gate. And that's because somehow the attack is opening gates. Yeah, I don't know how that works. Just go with it. They go to Chrissy's trailer where she died. On the ceiling, there's a hole, and that is how they get to them. I'm just saying, if they undo that she was the one responsible for the slaughter, it at least undoes the second part of my two-part problem with the whole 11's remade history. She takes out the chip. She's still somehow surprised. Keep in mind, she is really young at this point, so I can accept that she wouldn't have realized he's won and that he's got powers, and that's why he had the thing in his neck. But hopefully the audience figured it out. He reveals his tattoo to her after taking out those guards in the hallway. And it says 1, because duh. Now they go back to the kids and the young adults on either side of the upside down our world. Here is my issue here. I know I complain, but I just see things when they don't make sense. Earlier we saw the government come. They had sensors and things, and they could sense that there was disturbance, there was upside down activity and things at the ceiling. The woman even looks up at it. But do they quarantine it and surround it with people like they 100% would? No. They don't even leave a guard or anyone to watch it. They just left it there. There's a crack, but it's super easy to punch in from, I think he used a broom maybe. Dustin punches it in the hole, and then they can now travel. They tied a sheet and threw it in, and now they have a rope basically that you can go up or down. So now the people in the upside down can climb out. And to me, it's baffling, number one, that it's just available for them to approach without issue. But then number two is, okay, now you have absolute proof of the upside down. Don't want to tell an adult? I'm telling you, right now I can accept kids just not telling an adult they want to do it on their own or they're afraid of getting in trouble. After this, whatever happens, in part two, as they call it, they better be telling people what's going on because they have blatant proof. They have an open, obvious gateway to another dimension. There is zero reason not to tell. I will be looking for that. Alright, while they were climbing out one by one, I was getting mildly annoyed that they let the injured guy go last. He's injured, he might need help getting out, but let's let him go last? Fine. I was getting mildly annoyed about that. And then, well, instead of something happening to Steve, which I feared, Nancy goes falling into a different area. She's not actually falling. Vecna guy got into her head. He's in her head, making her see stuff. She's in trouble. The guy who tries to sound like the newer Freddy Krueger from the one-off remake of Nightmare on Elm Street, doing his best impersonation of it that I can tell, shows her a very unflattering image of Barb when she got victimized in the Upside Down. Go back to the lab, and Eleven runs around seeing all the bodies, makes it to the Rainbow Room, and the guard, who, I forget if they said his name. He's one, so I'm just gonna call him one. One is there. He's the one who killed everybody, as I figured. Wait a minute. Yeah, he's killing them, like the guy in the Upside Down. Alright, so I had the suspicion also that it could be a psychic kid doing it, since we knew, I can't remember which episode I mentioned it, but I mentioned that, I can never remember her number. She's either 8 or 9. The girl from season 2 that we saw in one episode. You know, she was out there. So I thought there could be other psychic kids out there. And since this guy seemed to be psychically attacking, and he didn't act like a creature, and I was getting really confused and frustrated that this was not acting like any creature we had seen before in the Upside Down, seemed to be using psychic powers, it's one. I'm sure it's meant to be a grand reveal, but really just raises more questions than it answers. So it switches at one point to 11, how she actually was at that age, and she's really little and young, and it really makes their interactions somehow even skeevier. It's just creepier now, remembering how little she was when he was manipulating her and talking to her. I don't know. Starting to feel like there was a reason why they found an excuse to use her older version, even though she actually wasn't that old. But what I don't understand is how is this guy somehow looking like the creature from the Upside Down? How does he even survive in the toxic atmosphere? Or are we just pretending it's not toxic anymore? Is that another retcon I have to deal with? I'm still left trying to connect everything else. Like, what was the obsession with the clock? What's the deal? Was he like the guy's son? And then the son actually killed his family? The government took him away to try to train his powers, and then he was just a killer, so it didn't really work, so they chipped him? Okay, yeah, clock has to do with the house because it's the son, who we barely saw any of, but then the camera zoomed in on him. Because for some reason, he's showing Nancy his life, and he's villain monologuing. I get monologuing to 11 because somehow he's deluded enough to believe she'll somehow side with his crazy, whiny behavior. But Nancy feels super forced, so we get a visual to go along with the audio that Eleven's getting. When really you could just have him explaining to 11 verbally and then show us anyway. There's no need. The Nancy stuff just feels like they want to make us believe Nancy's in danger, or they need Nancy to understand too. That's what it is. They need the other characters to understand, so they're doing this when it doesn't make any sense for the villain to be like, "This is my plan. Let me tell you everything." The villain's motive, besides the fact that this guy is really cliche, his motive is so bad. Well, first of all, he has a superiority complex, so he refers to himself like he's not human, even though he's human. But it's almost like he can somehow see into the future where he gets somehow turned into an upside down creature, which makes no sense, but we're gonna move on. And he's no longer human, he's better than humans. And he has a weird obsession with spiders, and he thinks they're better than humans. And it's weird as crap, but kids be crazy, and he was a kid at the time, so okay, I'm going with it. But then he has this rant about society and how it's not fair that there's this many hours in a day, or that there's appointment times, bedtimes, go to school times, essentially is what he's whining about. And I'm just laughing like, this is society. You can choose not to live in society if you really hate it that much. It's such a weird thing to make you go nuts and kill your family. It's a choice the show made. I mean, hey, I'm rolling over here. But seriously, what's with the bone breaking and the eyes? Why? Are you just that sadistic? I think the real problem this guy had with the world was that they didn't approve of him being an asshole. He's just a jerk, and he's crazy and creepy. Of course his parents wanted to try to help him. He's evil. But no, he's superior than the human that he apparently isn't, even though he is. But villain monologue and ego and all that. So, best part, 11 is basically like, when he's join me, that kind of part in the rant and the speech and the explanation, she's like, nah. Maybe this is what he meant by being more powerful, is that he always knew that she was capable of more. There are still problems, even if you accept that there were always all these kids in the guard and he killed everybody at some point. So if I'm figuring this out right, what this whole thing was with Owens and Brenner offering her to get her power and make her stronger was that they knew this memory loss was also, not only did she forget who committed the crime that happened, somehow, conveniently, but she forgot how strong she was at the time. So technically, it would make her more powerful. She already had that power, but she forgot about it, conveniently, since none of this existed until season 4. But going with it, just accepting it, I'm trying to get on board and not be such a whiny, I don't like what you've done person. I'm not sure why Brenner would wait this long to get her powers back. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. What? So we're supposed to believe she already opened a rift that soon? The sheer number of retcons is trying my patience here. Finding that Demogorgon in season 1 was clearly shocking to the government people, Brenner, 11. No. Then they show us this really silly thing where she's used her powers to, it seems like, partially disintegrate him, and then open a rift and send him through it. How does your psychic powers do that, and how do you do that accidentally? But moving on, you get this really silly looking moment where he's being thrown, flying through the air. It looks goofy to me. Bolts come from the sky, like weird lightning. I don't know why that's happening either. The Upside Down doesn't resemble the Upside Down in this season. It is just bizarre. Here's a glimpse of our weird being thrown into the upside down scene. This is just a piece. This is a goofy reveal. Nah, I mean, why wouldn't they have killed him? They kill everyone. And if he's so powerful, why wouldn't he just use his powers and leave? Okay, that's the episode. It ends with that reveal, which, if people are enjoying it, that's fine. I do feel I can be overly critical of things, but I enjoy writing and stories in general, whether it's TV, movies, reading, which makes me have a tendency to spot the things that don't make sense. If I am mistaken and someone can tell me and give me the data to back it up, I will be the first to admit and go, oh, okay, I was wrong. But as of right now, they're retconning the shit out of this season to give this backstory in order to make all the seasons connect. And you could tell with the end of this episode, this is definitely not the end of a part 1. This is just another episode. So I stand by my assumption as well that it was always meant to be a 9-episode season, and episodes got so long, they made up the excuse that it was going to be part 1 and part 2. Yes, and it still doesn't make any sense that he was telling Nancy all this. Now we get to the rating of the episode. Because of all the retcon stuff that annoys me, it drops down 1 number. Almost everything else that is going on, I really enjoy. I really enjoyed the light thing, communication, seeing the parents and the cops and that whole scene, Steve and Eddie moment, Nancy and Steve, just everything else is working for me. I am really enjoying it. But the Russian stuff in this episode in particular, aside from the Yuri and Murray and... I'm going to start mixing up Yuri and Murray. Aside from the Murray and Joyce participation in the Russian plot now, everything else in Russia was super pointless. And I still stand by, I'm super annoyed we are getting an entire season of Hopper stuck in a prison cell in Russia. Whoever decided that was a good idea, it sucks. They never should have done it. I really would have been just happy with and cut, he got back somehow at the end. It's so long and boring and hardly anything ever happens because you're in a prison. Nothing's going to happen. That is how I got my score of 8. As the previous 2 episodes, they're really heavy on the retconning and changing the past for Eleven and Brenner, which I loathe, so it always goes down a number. The Upside Down is becoming confusing and possibly not matching up with previous seasons. A lot of the time, I just don't even feel like they're in the Upside Down, which is a problem. I don't know if they're using a different set or they're filming it differently. I'm not sure why it seems so different. But it does, and the rules of how the Upside Down works seems to have changed. Therefore, we go from typically a 10, and we go down to a 9 with the retcon stuff, and then we go lower because the Russian stuff is pointless, and even the fight was a lot more disappointing than I was expecting. I thought that would be the one good thing, but it was just okay. Everything else around it being good, though, keeps it at that 8. As always, thank you for watching, and remember to stay entertained.